Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about something that is a super controversial topic in the industry. It's pretty divisive. That is, can you become a tattoo artist without doing a traditional apprenticeship? In other words, can you be self-taught and still become a tattoo artist? Some people will tell you that you don't need an apprenticeship at all, like a traditional one. Other people will say that it's irresponsible to not get one and that it's actually quite disrespectful to the industry itself. So let's dive into it. So when we say self-taught, what exactly do we mean? So self-taught apprenticeships are basically where you will go out of your way to buy a machine, buy fake skin, buy all the inks, everything that you need, and basically just teach yourself at home. There's no formal training, you're not training under a mentor, you're practicing on yourself, you're practicing on your friends, family, whoever will be willing to give up their skin. And you don't learn about hygiene practices, you don't learn about cross-contamination. There's only so much you can learn from YouTube and from online. A lot of these people don't even do that. They'll just buy a machine from Amazon and just go straight onto their skin. On the flip side, a more traditional tattoo apprenticeship is done under a mentor. It's a lot more formal. You will have gone into the shop, you would have met the artists that work there, you'll be learning about cross-contamination, about hygiene practices, and also fundamentals of tattooing aside from just the kind of more technical aspects like hygiene. You'll be learning about different styles and how to draw them. You'll be learning about equipment and how to set up correctly. And then you'll also be doing other things around the shop. Cleaning, setting up for artists, destationing them, etc, etc. So what are the pros and cons of doing a DIY apprenticeship or doing a traditional apprenticeship? I feel like it might be a little bit misleading if I keep referring to a DIY apprenticeship as an apprenticeship, because technically that's not what an apprenticeship is, but for the ease of this video, that's what I'll refer to it as. So being self-taught, what are the pros? The pros of being self-taught is that there is no timeline for you to follow. You're not restricted by anyone telling you what you can do at a certain time, how long it's going to take you. You can figure out your own timeline. And for a lot of people, that's a good thing. You know, a lot of people, when it comes to their career, they want to go at their own pace. They want to go at the speed that they learn the best. And they might feel that doing a tattoo apprenticeship for them just takes too long and it's not worth the wait. It can also be notoriously hard to get into the tattoo industry, so that kind of bypasses that whole issue of getting in the first place, and it makes it very easy and very accessible for anyone to get into the industry and just start tattooing. Also, don't have to worry about anyone telling you to do the kind of menial jobs around the shop, any kind of cleaning, any kind of labour around the shop, I guess you could call it. You know, it's not the most glamorous stuff to do, but it needs to be done. And you have to take into consideration that, let's say that you do a DIY style apprenticeship, you teach yourself, and then you end up in a shop. You're still going to have to be doing all of those things that come along with working in a shop. You're still going to have to clean the bathroom at some point. You're still going to have to mop the floors. You're still going to have to make sure your stations are nice and clean. So doing a self-taught apprenticeship, just because you don't have to do those things, doesn't really help out in the long run. The cons of being self-taught, I think, outweigh the pros, definitely. Obviously, there's a really big one, not learning about things like cross-contamination and hygiene, and not really having that knowledge under your belt. That is a really serious thing. It's a really dangerous thing. It can really hurt somebody by not understanding these concepts. So it's really important for you and for future clients that you are well versed in how to properly take care of their skin, how to tattoo them safely. Also, because you're teaching yourself, there's no feedback available for you. There's no real-time feedback. You know, when I'm in the studio and if I'm drawing something that doesn't look quite right, or if I'm tattooing some fruit and something might go a little bit wrong, or I can improve something, I know that I can literally just turn around and my mentor is right there, and I could ask him, what should I do instead? How do I do this? And he can give me real-time feedback that I can then apply immediately. If you're self-taught, you don't have that. You just have to kind of rely on what you think is right. And if you have no experience in the industry, how are you able to know what the best course of action is? Following on from that point, it means you're going to pick up bad habits. And it's very, very easy to pick up bad habits because you can pick them up very quickly, but it takes a long time to unlearn them. And if you start tattooing at home and then you manage to land a traditional apprenticeship, it's probably going to take you longer in the long run, because you're going to have to unlearn all of those bad habits that you picked up when you were teaching yourself. So it's better to just wait it out, get a real apprenticeship, and then learn from scratch. You don't have anything to go off of, and that will just serve you better in the long run. So for a traditional apprenticeship, I would say that the pros most definitely are, like I said, immediate real-time feedback. It's so important for you as an artist to be able to get feedback really quickly. so that you can then go on and improve your work. And of course, you learn a safe way of tattooing, and tattooing is very safe when you know how to do it correctly. And you need that kind of information when you're first starting out so that you don't pick up those bad habits along the way. So I think the safety aspect of it and also the feedback aspect of it are probably the two best things about getting a traditional apprenticeship. But also because you're part of a studio environment, there's people around you, there's that kind of camaraderie that you feel when you're part of the shop, especially if you get a good one with good colleagues. Apologies if my audio sounds a little bit off. I had to quickly change microphones and this is a different one because the other one broke, so love that for me. But anyway, the cons of getting a traditional tattoo apprenticeship is long hours, probably. You don't get paid. There is a lot of pressure, but I think ultimately it's mainly pressure that you put on yourself rather than other people putting pressure on you. I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, but you know, the shop that I work in, obviously my colleagues, they want me to do well. They want to help me with my career going forward. And there is a lot of pressure on that, but it's not because they're putting pressure on me. It's just wanting to succeed myself. So there is that aspect as well. And obviously, as I said, it can be really, really hard to get into the industry anyway. So that is another con of trying to get a tattoo apprenticeship, a traditional one. So it's probably pretty obvious which one I would recommend you do. I would never ever recommend somebody teaching themselves. I just think that it's too dangerous. I think the cons outweigh the pros in that instance. And so I'll just tell you a little bit why I chose a traditional apprenticeship. Obviously, like I said, cons outweigh the pros. So that's kind of the basis for why, really. But I also knew that very early on that I didn't want to just start tattooing people with no knowledge. I felt like it was just too dangerous. I did have a lot of friends ask me, oh, have you tattooed anyone yet? You know, this is obviously before I got my apprenticeship. They would always ask me, have you tattooed anyone yet? Have you got a machine? Da, 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 da. No, I don't have a machine. I haven't tattooed anyone. I'm not even going to do that. I'm not going to possibly butcher somebody's skin just so I can say that I've done a tattoo, because I'm not gaining experience. All I would be doing is just making them guinea pigs, and I don't want that. And so I always knew that I would just wait until I got into the industry and go about it that way. Being a tattoo apprentice and then obviously in future a tattoo artist, you have to realize that it's not just about making cool designs that people can have on their skin for the rest of their life, also about all the other aspects that come along with it. And so I just wanted to make sure that I was 100% certain in what I was doing, that I was doing it safely, and that the art that I could create looked good, but was also able to heal well and not give anyone a nasty infection. And to be completely honest, I've learned so much stuff in my apprenticeship already that I would probably never have known if I'd gone the self-taught route. You learn about different types of needles and how to tattoo on different types of skin, you know, how to break down a station and set one up without contaminating everything. And all of these little things is so much easier learned when you're in a traditional apprenticeship setting than if you're just at home watching a couple of YouTube videos. I promise you that I'm not going to tell you everything that you need to know. They do not replace a real life mentor. When it comes to the tattoo industry as a whole, what is the viewpoint on self-taught artists? It's not very good. I don't know really how this has changed throughout the years. I mean, I feel like back in the day, tattooing was a lot more quote unquote gatekeepy than it is now, even though a lot of people still find it gatekeepy. But I think there was a real subculture element back in the day that, you know, maybe it's sort of started to lose now. Tattoos have become a lot more accessible for a lot more people. And obviously with things like Amazon and online shopping, it's very easy for you to just go online and find a machine that's got good reviews and buy it and just go wild. But I think the majority of the tattoo industry, they still look down on people that are self-taught. Don't get me wrong, there are some amazing self-taught artists out there that started out that way and ended up progressing into actual shops who do incredible work, but they are the exception and not the rule. Most people that are self-taught are going to have a very, very hard time actually breaking into the kind of mainstream industry rather than just doing things at home. But a lot of tattoo studios, if you're going and looking for a traditional apprenticeship, they won't even consider you if you've done stuff at home already. I remember when I walked into the shop that I'm now an apprentice at, one of the first questions that my now mentor asked me was, have you ever tattooed somebody before? Obviously the answer was no, but you know, you have to bear in mind that these are the kind of things that people are going to be asking if you do try and get a traditional tattoo apprenticeship. So to stand you in good stead and not start self-taught, it's just not worth it. So just for some more added insight, I thought it would be a really good idea to ask my mentor what he thought. So I'm going to put that video in now. Okay, would you like to introduce yourself to the camera?
Cool. My name's Rick, aka The Broken Puppet, and I am Chloe's mentor.
So I was just wanting to know, if you were giving advice to somebody who wanted to get into the industry, what advice would you give them if they were asking about whether they should go for a DIY apprenticeship or a more traditional style apprenticeship, like the one that I'm doing?
Yeah, definitely traditional. It's harder to get, but it's worth the time. But if you do DIY, it's really not practical. You're going to pick up so many bad habits. And the problem is bad habits take a long time to work out. So in the long run, you tend to find you can do a lot longer DIY. It's like you might be quicker to get involved in it, but in the long run, it's going to take a lot longer. And then trying to train yourself out of those bad habits. Plus, you're going to have doing like tons of bad tattoos, which you're not going to be happy with. And they stick in your head for a long time. So you don't want that. You know, like there's nothing worse than having a tattoo. Like it'll be 10, 20 years into your career. And when you think back at those early tattoos, you're like, God damn, that was so bad. I'm going to have to cover it up. And you're never going to step past again. You're going to end up with a long list of those. And yeah, you don't want those on your mind.
And I guess the one other question that I would ask is, what is your best tip for somebody looking to get an apprenticeship?
Yeah. The best tip for learning again an apprenticeship is to really practice and sort of learn the craft. You know, art comes first. So really learning about the drawing, the practice, you know, a little bit of history, and, you know, just the more you know about that. And if you want to get an apprenticeship, getting familiar with the actual artists themselves is always a good way to go. You know, if you're actually going into a studio, getting tattooed by them, become friendly with them, and actually something that can be of use and that you are actually interested in a real way, that's going to benefit you so much more. So yeah, that's what I say. Like, just keep drawing and kind of get familiar with places you want to go to.
Okay, thank you so much.
No worries.
But overall, I think if you are considering which route to go down, I think it's really important that you weigh up the pros and cons. Like I said, I don't think it's worth your time to go the self-taught route. Again, there are going to be people that disagree with that, and that's fine. But ultimately, there are so many things that you can do to actually become a really, really good artist, and you want to start off by giving yourself the best chance. Going the self-taught route is not the way to do that. So I actually have a video, it was the last video that I posted, and it was how to get a tattoo apprenticeship. So go and watch that. I don't know, I'll see if I can like link it to this video or something, but go and watch that. I give you 5 tips about how you can go and find an actual real life apprenticeship, and you'll be so much better off for it than teaching yourself. But I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Drop it in the comments. I want to know if you've ever been tattooed by somebody that is self-taught, whether you are a self-taught tattoo artist, or whether you're just debating on which way you should go. I would love to hear your thoughts, so drop it in the comments. Always remember, be a lover, not a hater. Hit subscribe, hit like. I'm trying to post weekly. I'm trying to stay consistent. So yeah, subscribe. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok. My handles, they're all the same. It's just @2goodtattoos. And yeah, I'll see you next time.